When I began my spiritual practice 50-odd years ago, I sort of came into it with a belief system formulated by many people who came before me, that there were certain kinds of attainments that came out of spiritual practice. Sorry, I can't see you. You may want to move a little.
I'm looking at you on the phone.
Oh, you can do that. That's fine. The system appeared to me to be one would evolve into a kind of mastery that would include a capacity to work miracles, to have some dominion over the world, to be able to exercise a certain kind of will over matter, to make it rain. And none of that's happened. And I don't think it's really so much a failure on my part as it is, one, maybe I just haven't evolved to that place and it will happen. Or more likely, from my perspective, it's all a story. It's all just a story. That miracle workers keep hope alive. Miracle workers make us believe that there will be intercessions along the way that will make us safe, comfortable, free, take care of stuff. I don't want to burst any bubbles because I cannot say, based on my years of sitting, that I know that not to be true. But I find my miracles in a different form. And I think I've shared this with you before. The first miracle is that we exist at all. Most people go through life with an assumption that this is what's supposed to be. This is what it is. This is the world. This is an earth. This is in a solar system. This is a world of procreation and creation and getting rich or not getting rich, of having stories, losing stories, having connections with people, losing connections. It's a world of enormous interaction that has not very much context, but if we give it context, there are people who occasionally wonder, well, where did this come from? How did this happen? And then there are certain facile, answers to that question, like God. Oh, God made this. And some sense of that when this ends, which certainly does happen for everybody, when it ends, that something will occur. And there are religious belief systems that tell us what that might be. And they all differ, so it's hard to know exactly which one is the right system. But we have a kind of underlying sense that mostly we want to be pleasured and happy and comfortable in a world that doesn't necessarily sustain that. But it doesn't stop us from pursuing it all day, all night, every day. And we get very lost in this construct that each of us has formed in a completely different way, even though there are certain symmetries to it. We all have certain ideas of what the world looks like, what it is. There are commonalities in it. They all share this idea of a sky, solid ground. In our world, streets, buildings, cars, other people. Those are givens. But I'm telling you, we each look at that world from such different angles, from such different perspectives. Our alignment with the world is uniquely ours. And so we try to find commonalities that we can enjoy and share together. And even those commonalities are witnessed from very different perspectives. So one person thinks something that's happening is wonderful, another person at the same space thinks it's not so wonderful, another person says, why am I here? Another person says, I want to stay here forever, all in the same space. And why do we see the same truth, the same reality, through such different lenses? And if that is the way it is there a truth at the core of this separate awarenesses that unites them? It's been a really interesting week here in this country with a lot of public drama, a lot of stuff swirling around us that's very demanding of our attention. And we're living in a time and a space where things that were once norms are no longer norms. Things are in upheaval. Things are changing. They are altering in many dramatic ways. And we are becoming aware of the polarities in how, as a society, we look at the same events through totally different eyes, with totally different explanations, and each of us think our vision of it is true. Some of us perhaps are at a place where we go, I really don't know what's true, what's not true, but we all are reacting to, most of us, the world as it unfolds in front of us in ways that it has not unfolded before, with a kind of dramatic new speed of delivery. Those of you who know movies, when I was a kid, you went to movies and they lingered in their telling of a story. Now a movie has to get you this fast, it has to move you really quickly, and it has to keep you completely engaged until it's over and you go, oh, wow, that was great. Well, now life is becoming like that. We don't have the lingering movement. We have the very, very rapid fire storytelling of the world. And there was a play when I was a kid called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. And I'm talking to a lot of people these days who essentially are kind of saying that to me. Stop the world, I want to get off. This is too much, it's too difficult, it's too complicated. But you can't exactly stop it, at least we can't. Well, it's another story, but we may in fact be participating in stopping the world. But moment to moment, we are living in a very dense, highly active, reactive universe. And it is, in many ways, either very entertaining or very discomforting. And one looks for some kind of peace in the midst of all of the outer drama. How can I find peace for myself? So one of the mechanisms for finding peace is turn off the television, don't read the newspapers, don't talk to anybody, live a life of simple quietude, and it will be fine until the outer universe starts to impact our space, whether we're aware of why it's happening or not. It will just start to happen. Choices made around us will start to affect the world, the economy, the well-being of our neighbors, the life that goes on inches away from us in terms of weather. All of that stuff is going to start to impact us, no matter how quiet, simple, and sedate we may be able to make ourselves. So, what to do? For many people, this idea of meditation is a kind of answer because it allows you to step back, step out of the equation and witness it. Which is really interesting because so much of what causes difficulty and suffering and grief in life is the moderator called our mind that reacts to it. It looks at it, it judges it, it compares it to what it was a week ago, a month ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, what it may be in 2 years, 10 years. The mind is very active in trying to paint a picture of a world that we can live in. And or not live in. Sometimes minds love drama. Sometimes minds really are terrified of drama. But the mind is very much an interpreter of everything that's happening around us. And the mind is, as Rudy would call it, the slayer of the soul. The mind doesn't know very much. You can educate it. You can bring as much wisdom to it as you possibly can, but it will still be the mind. It's still an interpretive force. And it is a layer of perception between you and what is. Most spiritual teaching tries to help us step away from the mind, step away from the noise, the interpretive function, the activity of the judgment of the world. And we try to get to a place where the mind is still long enough for us to discover the witness, the observer of the world. Stepping into stillness and quietude is for most people scary because it means, at least for a certain time in that passageway, being very aware of the noisemaker, the mind. The more you try to step away from the mind, the more the mind makes itself known. The more you try to sit still, the louder it becomes. And it's very hard. And also, the mind doesn't like to be ignored. And if you try to ignore it, it will make sure, because it's running the show and because it's there and programmed to be there for your safety and well-being, it's going to let you know it's there. It will do it through love, and it will do it through fear. It will do it through kindness and through brutal condemnation. The mind wants your attention because it really believes that you cannot survive without it. It's programmed to tell you that, you're programmed to believe it. The meditation ideal is short little moments where you suspend that and you just get still pointed. You get quiet. You allow yourself to peer behind the curtain. You allow yourself not to be dominated by that noise. You just quietly look. It's not easy to do, and most people who practice meditation sit for years because every so often the mind gets somewhat quiescent in that practice, and you go, oh, I'm there, I've done it. And you feel this kind of spacious awareness and quietude and calmness, and it's really wonderful. And then out of left field, the thing you hadn't been thinking of for 20 years erupts and completely disturbs your peace, or something arrives and starts to completely alienate you from the stillness, the still pointedness. The mind is an essential tool. Wanting to get rid of the mind is a really interesting dynamic, because you have to ask the question, who is trying to get rid of the mind? You may want to say it's my spiritual self, my deeper self, my truer self. But in truth, it's your mind pretending to want to get rid of the mind, because it too wants quiet, comfort, ease, and so it creates a universe in which the mind itself pretends to be looking for its own exclusion. Let go of the mind. Let go. You will be free. And for many people who begin to feel this freedom, it's really mind orchestrated. It's not freedom. It's simply something that you are allowed to feel in the narrative of your life that makes you feel better. I'm a meditator. I get 20 minutes every day of stillness and quietude. Or maybe hours, or maybe days and weeks and months. But this mind is very clever. It's very directive. It has a assignment, and your movement beyond mind is a life's work. Ultimately, my sense of all of this is that the mind is you. It's to be engaged. It's to be part of the whole. To say yes to the totality of that which is mind and that which is no mind. That which is observational and that which is engaged and active. There is a kind of non-dualistic reality in which mind and no mind operate together. There is a kind of assent that one can give to reality as you know it. It's a kind of what we refer to in spiritual circles as acceptance, or aha, or aso. This is what is. This is how it is. Instead of trying to free yourself of your mind and trying to get somewhere else, realize there's nowhere to get. You will never arrive anywhere but here. Here. Part of here is a mindful space. Part of here is a quietude space. Here is whatever is happening. Here is whatever is going on. And there is either something reacting to it or against it, or something that just goes, okay. If you're on a journey to free yourself of the mind and of the body and of the emotions and the dramas of life, it's not the wrong journey. It's motivated by the right things. But you will not succeed because it's not trying to get away from it. It's trying to embrace it, to be one with it, to finally go, thy will be done. This is that. This is that. It's also, for whatever it's worth, totally incomprehensible. The mind will never get it. The vastness of your true being will always be there, but you will never understand it. The miracle worker you're seeking to become is already in play, but you will never understand how it works. If you gain some mastery and you can create a shower over this little village, or you can create some kind of well-being in this person's life over here, beautiful, beautiful. But it has nothing to do with you, and you have nothing to do with it. There is no you, and there is no it. There just is. It is pure. I hate to give it even a verb. It just is what is. And the struggle, the human struggle to embrace and engage, figure out, dialogue with, take advantage of, use for your advantage, any of this stuff is simply part of how it works. Forgive yourself for trying to get somewhere, because everyone's trying to get somewhere because we're programmed to get somewhere. Forgive yourself for being afraid of the inevitable, because it's built in. There is no I get it point. Because, and I've said this 1,000 times, if you get it, who is you? And what are you getting? It will be a false moment. It might feel good. You'll walk around going, I can write a book about this. I can teach class, I can sell it, I can market it, I can do something. But, it's all part of a unbelievable fabrication. But let me also say, this fabrication is part of the miracle. It's part of the what is. This drama that circulates around us, this stuff that's going on in our community and in our culture right now, in our society and in our political life, is all part of what is. And yes, we react to it. Yes, there are places you can go that will calm you down. The whole thing is happening, and you can just go, okay. You can also engage it. You can also jump into the middle of it. You know, I mean, I dialogued about this now for the last several months, this idea of jumping in to try to change the outside. This for me has been an amazing journey, this what I call right action. I don't know if it's right really, but it feels right. Trying to go in and change the outcome of an election. You know, is that spiritual? Yes. Yes. Is not trying to change the outcome of the election spiritual? Yeah. Is voting spiritual? Yeah. Is not voting spiritual? Yeah. Only you can see the world through your eyes. Only you. Your lens is very specifically yours. The job in this universe that we have found ourselves in is to, I can only say, go, okay, yep, okay. I know that's not satisfying on some fundamental level. I know we all want to be deeply comforted and totally free of the dramas of everything in the world. But the only way to be free of the drama is not to fight and enter into and try to change the drama for any reason other than that entering into the what is still being what is. You can be in it, of it, around it, and separate from it at the same time, or you can be in it, around it, and of it without separating. Just be part of the whole. Thy will be done. Be the servant of energy, of action, of right action. Do what you can do. I will tell you, and I've shared this with you a lot, there is a space within the heart chakra that knows what I'm talking about, that knows how to move forward in life, that knows how to journey. It's very quiet, it's very simple, but it will lead you into, we'll call it awareness, maybe wisdom, maybe higher consciousness. It's all part of the what is, but it does provide for a certain amount of knowing, surrender, willingness to let go. There's this place inside you that just goes, you're going to be okay. It kind of goes, just let go. Just relax. Just arrive at, okay, okay, okay. That's really kind of what meditation is about. It's arriving at a place of allowing. If you can arrive at that place, this journey will feel better. And if you've really gotten good at that, if you, Rudy's idea of having the muscle of surrender, it will work for you up until the last breath. It may take additional effort. You know, I'm trying to describe to people in my talks recently the existential drama of the abyss, of facing ultimate what isness, if you will, without a body, without a mind, without a society, without a world, without a sky, without anything. Trying to walk toward that is huge, huge. And most of us aren't even approaching that because it's too big, it's too scary. On the other hand, and I'm referencing this pretty much every weekend now, Buddha under the bo tree, facing the demonic as well as the alluring, had to face the absolute total loss of everything that meant anything. And he wasn't trying to tell you, be a Buddhist. He was trying to tell you, you've got to do it too. You have to do it too. There's nobody who escapes this world without having to do it, or you can just back into it like a car crash. See what happens. And who knows? It may be fine. It may be the way to go. Just, you know, why spend your whole life preparing for something when it's going to happen and just, it'll happen. There's wisdom in that. You know, my sister has, and I may have said this last week, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. We were talking about climate change and the possibility of the world not being around. And she said to me really quite profoundly, she said, look, we all die, the world dies. Get over it. That may be all I have to say. You know, there is no other ultimate. We will die, and learning to deal with that's very important. But the idea that the world will die, well, I hate to break it to you, and I hate to break it to myself. It will. It will come to an end. It just may come to an end a lot sooner than we thought. And if that's true, what I'm talking about here of going, yep, okay, is a good lesson. It's a good lesson. You will move through the struggles of the human experience with a little bit of calm center, with a little bit of grace, with a little bit of ability to help others as they move through it, with the capacity for compassion that the world desperately needs at any given moment. You can be a source of love, a source of right action, a source of goodness, a source of kindness and beauty that the world needs. You can be that. Not only can you, you're being asked to right now. Be that. This is your potential role. If you can be that, you will be a helping force, whatever happens here. But we are definitely in a time of upheaval. Not like the world hasn't been in upheaval before. It's been in upheaval many times, but most of us who lived in the last, for me, 75 years, have lived in a relatively calm and stable period. Now we're moving out of that, as many people have over many centuries. Okay, here we go, on a ride. Do it with grace. Do it with love. Do it with kindness. Share your ability to hug people who are scared. Offer help. Tell them I'm with you. I care about you. I care. I'm there too. I am one with what is, which means I'm one with you. That's really meaningful. And if you can offer that to people, if you can become that for people, what a gift. If you can become a miracle worker and you actually make it powerful enough to provide climate change for the world, please let us know, because we need it. We could use somebody to provide more rain, less heat, and help the ocean stay still and do all of these things. That would be wonderful. If you have arrived at that state of spiritual awareness or capacity, that is great. But if you have arrived at the place that I am describing, the miracle will be that in the midst of difficulties, you will be a source of calm and quiet and support and love and ease and grace for others. That's worth it too. That's miraculous too. So you are the miracle, truly. You are the miracle if you choose to sign up for that. And if you don't, it's okay. You know, most people won't. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It means their particular viewpoint or lens doesn't include that. Don't berate them for that. You're lucky, I'm saying lucky, it feels lucky, to have an expanded vision, an ability to see more deeply into the world. You can be a helper as opposed to someone who needs help. Well, maybe not. Maybe you'll need help too. But we'll just help each other. So, I know these talks are getting more and more kind of, I don't know, reactive to the dynamics of what's happening outside, but I feel that's what has to happen. And I will continue to do it, and people who want to hear it and are helped by it, great. If you don't want to hear it, God bless. You know, Murphy Brown's back on TV. You know, you can watch other things. There's things to do. You can get by. Life will be sweet for a bit. Thank you. Any questions?
Since last week when I started coming, I've kind of had insomnia, and you know, last Monday, the day after, I woke up at like 10 to 6, and it was great. I was like, oh, I should meditate. It's like, I'm up, I should meditate. And that was awesome. And then the next day it was 4, and I was like, oh well, I guess I should meditate. And it was 4 again the next day, and then it was 2 a.m. I was like, this is where I draw the line. And so for the next couple of days, it was like real, like in and out and in and out. And yeah, I mean, the good news is that I am starting the day off with what feels like a really strong practice, but it's just like.
I'm not sure there's a cause and effect. I mean, you can make one.
Okay.
I'm not sure sure that's what it is. I mean, I've meditated for decades, and I mean, I'm starting to have sleep issues as well, but they're not related to meditation. They're just related to patterns of changing in my own psyche. Mm-hmm. A very good friend of mine is having, so many people I know are having sleep issues right now, but this friend of mine's doctor said, you have to turn off the television by 8 o'clock. You have to turn it off. You cannot watch any more bright light television after 8 o'clock because that will impede your sleep. I have all these people talking about their new sleeping pills that they've gotten, and all these. I mean, there's so much stuff going on about people having disturbed sleep at this moment in time. I think meditation actually can help calm that down to some degree. I think one thing you might try is sit up when you wake up, meditate for 20 minutes, half an hour, go back to bed. In the old days in our society, people used to go to bed at dark, at 6 o'clock. Wake up at midnight, have a few hours of eating and doing and stuff, then they went back to sleep until light. That was really how the world worked on some level. Waking up, you have 4 hours and 4 hours with something in between. So I don't know, I'm not a doctor, I can't prescribe what to do. I will tell you, I don't think meditation is the source of that problem. If it is, well, use the meditation, but then really go back to sleep. And if you can't sleep, what will follow will be interesting.
Okay, thank you.
When you were talking, describing the mind, I thought I heard you say that the mind has created the idea of the soul, that it's just a story. And I don't believe that at all. I feel like the soul is the essence of me. Did I
No, I didn't
misunderstand?
Yeah, I didn't say that. But the mind has an idea about the soul. That's problematic. I didn't say that the mind created the soul, because in no way is that true. There is something going on that created mind, but the mind will not figure out what that is. The mind will never understand, meaning grasp, hold on to, interpret, or be able to put into a formula what the soul would be. But the mind, for many people, has come to an understanding. They call it, it's God, or it's awareness, or it's higher energy. You know, and as though that is an explanation of it, as though that describes it. Oh, it's the soul or the oversoul. It's not a problem. It's just that it's not true. It's dismissive of this. It doesn't get at the reality of this true being, the being, and capital being that we are, that is knowable, experiential, touchable, is in fact infusing every moment of our lives, but we don't have an approach to it outside the mind for most people, other than the meditative experiential base that goes, ah. And the minute you try to interpret that, the minute you try to give that name, space, time, phenomenon, you're off. It's this other thing that is so dynamically not only at the source of everything that's happening, but the very substance of what's happening. Only when you see it as a singularity as opposed to duality do you start to go, it's so big, it's so phenomenal, it's so present tense, that you just go like that. That's all you can do. And don't name it. Don't think I got it. I'm protected by it. Has nothing to do with that story. Bullshit story that people get into and walk around with a kind of assurance or a kind of knowledge base that they think they can use to save the world. Not true. If you really have it like that, probably, if you really do find it, your own inner presence and soul, you will be like that. I think. And you probably won't give talks like I'm giving, you know. But it's really, we have to approximate it. We have to get to something to get people on board with the possibility that there is a place inside you that will bring comfort, and you have felt it sometimes in the presence of other people, like your mothers, or your loved ones, or somebody on a movie screen. You know, there are times you look at people and connect with people and you feel like this gives meaning that I don't understand, but it gives value to the whole. This is so powerful. And if you arrive at that, and you do at times, everybody does, if you arrive at it, it's wonderful. If you cling to it, it'll be a problem because you grow up and your mother will not be there for you in the same way. You know, your lover will grow old with you. You know, it won't be available in the same way or forever. So you have to deal with all of that, but try to find out, where did this mother thing come from? Where did the partner come from? Where did the loved one come from? Where did this universe world come from? And you're not going to know, but you'll begin maybe to trust that what it comes from is still here. That it's always here. And when you start to feel that and know that, you walk around with a sense of thank you.
When you were talking about the collective, personally, there's personal and there's collective, and I notice a large anxiety, which can have this impulse to I don't know where I'm going, but I gotta go. And I imagine the impulse is to come here. So what is the being with? Like, I'm curious from how you would answer the noticing of that impulse to go, I don't even know where, away from, bringing it back. It's the abyss. I know this word. I use this word. So the created fear around like what's going to happen when I sit still.
Well, I mean, in the existential sense, it is the abyss. A lot of people don't, in sitting still, imagine they're dealing with the abyss. They're dealing with mind and noise. But it does lead to inevitabilities that are inescapable, profound, and at the very core of all of our insecurity. You know, because, as Buddha said, it's all temporary. You know, none of this lasts. It's impermanent. That's the source of all of our drama. We're all walking around doing a dance on over the abyss. But we're all going to fall in. And how do you accommodate that? And Buddha under the Bo tree, dealing with the biggest of all demons, was really facing that question. What is this horror show that seems to await us that I have to in some way say yes to? And how do I arrive at yes, or something approaching yes? And you can't even begin to imagine the journey to arriving at that until you accept the fact that that's there. And then it's not just an intellectual acceptance, it's starting to wake up in the day and going, it is arriving. And it is arriving kind of for all of us in a way, collectively, faster than we may be realizing. And it's causing an upheaval in people that's not even spoken of very much yet. But I'm not sure I need to be a spokesperson for that, although I'm feeling an urge to be a spokesperson for it. But I really feel it is a sociologically existential moment where we're all facing something that everybody is, Murphy Brown, anywhere but that. Anywhere but that. That is going to be right in front of all of us. What can you do? Well, if I tell you at that point that there's a calm center to this, and you're sitting with, you're never going to find that center. You won't even give yourself a minute to look for it, and you won't believe it's there. But I will tell you, practicing stillness, sitting, opening, entering, is the only doorway I know to acceptance of cataclysmic existential truth. I don't know any other doorway, and it may not even work. But Buddha said it did. And I have moments in my own existence where I have arrived at, get over it. Get over it. This is what's going on. And you know what it offers you when that happens? You can have an extra scoop of ice cream. You can actually enjoy life in ways that you've been putting off. You can go, I got to go somewhere. I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to do this. You start to live with a little more liberation and freedom. Now, you can't get indiscriminate about that because you still have to, I don't know your situation, but in many cases, provide for a family, help people out, do things, and you have certain responsibilities. Those don't disappear. Although for some people they will, and that's going to create havoc. But right at the moment, allow yourself to enjoy and love the what is, because it's impermanent, because it will be taken away, because trees are beautiful, because the air smells great, because the temperature outside is still livable, and you can still be in the world. Find a way to go, thank you for today. And not to be totally obsessed with tomorrow, although that's what's going to start happening. It's going to be big. And we all need to learn the lesson and share it with our own, to whatever degree we can, calm, centered behavior. Okay?
I don't turn on the TV or read the newspapers very much, so it's kept me kind of isolated, and our talks have really kind of woken that up, and I think I've kind of subconsciously have known that. But I want to suggest a middle ground. It sounds like maybe even a strawman argument that either you're spiritually so that you can take a breath in, breath out, global warming is gone, and also, and I love, to be able to move towards and get to a place where I can be okay with what is, but I'm not yet there, and maybe being kind of like a fatal optimist, maybe it's a wake-up call for on simpler levels, not that, high existential, like you're making the movie, or maybe me, calling the congressman or going and canvassing, let's say, for Greens or something like that, or whatever it is. There may be a middle ground rather than, just be, something doesn't quite sit right with me in this moment to just kind of breathe and help people to deal with it. Maybe it's also a wake up to do stuff about it.
So what would the middle ground be for you?
I have a few ideas about internal combustion engines and things like that may make you know, may make a difference, for instance.
Oh, I'm not sure I see that as middle ground, but I see that would be great. You know, but my feeling is if you're called upon to be, or if you call upon yourself to enter into the dynamic of world experience and the things around you, then do, and watch what happens. It's really instructive. You know, I mean, I've been learning so much in the last few months that miracles occur and obstructions occur, and they keep working that way. And just because you're serving a higher cause doesn't mean that you're carried on a magic carpet. You know, it's work. It's still work. Middle ground to me is that. One way or another, life is filled with joy and misery. It has ease and obstacle. The world is always going to be conflicted, and we'll have moments of great ease. And you have to find your way through it. To me, that's kind of middle ground. You know, we're in the world, act in the world, but try to do it from as selfless a place as possible, so that you don't act and get hysterical when it doesn't go your way. You know, the whole idea of right action is not to care about the fruit of your action. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. And if it doesn't turn out your way, move on. You go on to the next thing. And I find that to be the most important part of all of this. That it's not to walk around saying, I only will trust and believe in right action if I get what I want. You do it because it's the right thing. And then, you know, I mean, November 6th, we're all going to watch something unfold on television. I've been making a very big effort to try to have a sense of things moving in a direction that feels right to me. If that doesn't happen, you know, I have to go, okay. You know, it may be hard, it may be painful for me, or it may be uplifting, but in either case, not to get overly identified with it, just to go, I did what I needed to do, and now I will have to do what I have to do now. And we will keep doing. I mean, the world is here to engage, not just to hide from. And I don't think you can skirt the world to get to spiritual awakening or awareness or transcendence. I think it's a path through, not around, personally. But, you know, people who want to believe the other, great. I'm not trying to dictate anybody's journey. I'm just telling you what I'm finding on my own path.
Even with the, anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, even with the idea, like I'm trying to, like with the beginning of the movie, it was a vector, it was an idea we didn't know. I don't know what my part is, but the footwork can be there.
I agree. Again, those who were around for me trying to make this movie about immigrants and taking children away from their parents, which I found to be unacceptable in terms of the world I live in, I didn't know what to do. I just said, I'm going to talk about this unknowable feeling I have to change things. And what do I do? How do I move forward? And then I realized I know how to make movies. And so I said, I'll try to make a movie. And then all these doors started opening. And this extraordinary thing happened with the help of a lot of other people, all volunteering. That was amazing. And then I'm facing now, how do I disseminate this movie or these movies to people? That's proving to be its own kind of miraculous, strange, bizarre journey. People, doors open and shut. Things start to happen and don't happen. I cannot live in the expectation that I did this and therefore something must take place. All I know is I needed to do it. You know, I've made a lot of movies in Hollywood. I do not walk into the supermarket and people tell me, oh, you know, your movie changed my life. I don't get feedback. All I know is I put this out into the universe, done. I had a story to be told. In the best of moments, I was channeled a story to be told. I did it as best I could. I put it out there. I put my children into the world. My grandchildren are in the world. All I can do is go. There's nothing more I can do. And you learn that. You do what you need to do. Blanche more than I raised these kids, you know, from little infants into functioning and productive adults. You know, you don't walk around going, hey, look what I did. You just walk around going, I love these people. And that's all you can do. And that's what life is. And we live that life. And when you realize that that life is not only your life, but life itself, it's the grand panoply of all possibilities, and you are one with that. That's pretty major. And if your ego doesn't take hold of it and you can just find great humility in it, you will touch something called presence that is worth the entire experience, worth being here.
You mentioned Life Itself. That was a great film, which the critics hated, but I thought it was fantastic. Because exactly what you're talking about. It's like everybody, you know, the main character thought his life would go one way, and then a tragedy happened, and then somehow it intertwines, and at the end, into stories which don't seem to interconnect, and I thought it was a good attempt at describing what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I'd say all of us are trying to, we're all attempting to describe what we're doing. Nobody's going to end up with the ultimate statement.
Right.
But each one of them is part of the journey. The great thing about fiction, narrative, movies, novels, etc., television, is we get to look through somebody else's lens for a minute. That's really valuable because we realize through that our lens is only one point of view. And you get to look through others. And if it's a really good filmmaker, TV writer, novelist, you will see through lenses that open you up to a part of yourself you never knew about. And that's really the great thing about fiction.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. Now it's superheroes, you know. But if you can get past superheroes, you can really start to see the world in ways that speak to you. And I keep looking for that. I hardly ever find it. But when something tells me something new, I am completely grateful. So I think we're going to end this just because it's going on and on. But thank you, guys. I'll see you next week. We're going to be at your house on Saturday, okay? And then but we're still having class here Sunday. Is that the idea? Okay. So we'll have class here next Sunday as well, and pretty soon we'll have a class at Shelley's, and we'll try to start moving this around a little bit so that people can feel new environments for the class and help bring pockets of energy or more energy to other environments. Thank you. Great to see you all.